So, Megan, you're the answer to one of my regrets. I don't really like regrets, but I've been really bummed most of the primary that I couldn't do anything on Flint. I didn't really want to do Skype interviews on Flint. I wanted to go to Flint, but just because of covering primaries and everything, I wasn't able to. So you're from Flint. You've been very active. Before it was in the spotlight, then when it was in the spotlight, and now that it's out of the spotlight, which is interesting. You know, you have candidates like Hillary Clinton go to Flint during the campaign before a primary, but suddenly nobody's talking about Flint. So since the spotlight was on it, Rachel Maddow did some good things. What has been done for Flint? What's been the positive results, and what's left to be done?
Well, there's still a lot of work to be done because unfortunately work isn't proceeding as well as a lot of people would have liked. We've only had about 36 service lines replaced at this point in time. There's been
36 out of how many?
About 10,000. So there's still a lot of work to be done. We're losing approximately 40% of our current water due to water main breaks and different issues with the infrastructure. When it comes down to it, really, what the problem is we need new infrastructure and we need new pipes. I actually, at home, I've got a piece of a drain trap, and the bottom is completely rotten out of it. And that's a 7-year-old piece of pipe, and it shouldn't have corroded like that, but it did due to the fact that our water wasn't properly treated with anti-corrosion control. So what happened is Flint was originally taken over by, it was in dire straits, so an emergency financial manager came in and took it over, basically suspended democracy. So our mayor had no power, our city council had no power. One of the things that they did to save money was they made the decision to switch from the Detroit water system to the Flint River water system. And because the water treatment plant wasn't set up to treat water, they made the conscious decision to not use corrosion control, which, as a result, you have this river water that's 19 times more corrosive than Detroit water that goes out into the infrastructure, and it started eating it away. So the pipes, they start corroding after the internal biofilm disintegrates, and that's when you start getting lead particles, copper particles, and all sorts of other different sorts of problems with the water. Since we've returned to Detroit water, our water has stabilized some, but the problem is our infrastructure is completely ruined at this point. We need new pipes. It's just that simple. They're saying that our water rate should probably double within the next 5 years because there's that many water main breaks. And it's, as is, we're paying about $200. My family is paying $200 a month just for water, and that's for 2 people in the house.
Well, you know what? I think that you gave me a lot of the specifics, which is important, but I think it's also important to translate what that really means politically, because you have Republican governors across America who, because of their own social Darwinistic ideology, believe that what needs to be done is to cut things like coercive, what was the phrase with the water? What they forgot to fund?
Corrosion control.
Cut that, cut Pell Grants, cut education, cut the teachers, cut the firefighters, cut this. But things like this, that number one, the people making these decisions are not experts on the topic. They're not, oh yeah, nothing will happen. They're not experts on what doing that, what could potentially happen as a result. Even if they were, they make these decisions because in their mind, the most important thing is austerity and in saving money and giving money to their donors. And I think this is the preeminent example we have of why that is so dangerous. Flint is the test case, but there's problems all across the country with, and it's been coming out. Even in New York, there was a lead issue. Do you think that since this has happened, there's been any recognition your governor is still your governor.
People who put dollars over the fundamental safety of the people do not belong in government. And you need to resign too, Governor Snyder.
Governors, Republicans all across the country are still, cutting things that are crucial, and in this case have ruined people's lives. I mean, there's children who developmentally are never going to be full functioning adults. What do you think in terms of whether those kinds of decisions will ever change based on this?
I hope so, but I don't have a lot of faith that that'll happen. Those mindsets are very, very hard to change. And to this day, I mean, the state doesn't want to pick up the slack. They created this problem. The city did not create the problem. And they don't want to be the ones that come in and replace the infrastructure. They don't want to pay for this. They don't want to pay for that.
So essentially, 20 people get killed in Newtown, 20 school children, nothing's done. And what's the number? I mean, at this point, thousands of children. About 10,000 kids get poisoned, and still nothing being done. Whereas, would you think that if that happened in, Orange County in California with a bunch of white kids, what do you think the response would have been?
I don't think it ever would have happened. Flint's poor. The majority population is a minority. It's
For people who don't know, just to give context, Flint is really embodies a lot of the disappearance of the middle class. Flint, Michael Moore is from Flint. He's done a lot of coverage. Was a huge manufacturing hub decades ago. A lot of blue collar jobs, and as the jobs started getting traded offshore, manufacturing closes down. A lot of the real blue collar roll up your sleeves workers lost their jobs. You basically think it's an issue of, if they see the place as trailer trash, they're going to act accordingly.
Yeah, I do. I really do. Because if this would have happened, this never would have happened in West Bloomfield or Oakland County, which is, less than 40 minutes away. They also wouldn't have had their democracy superseded and taken out of place and had an emergency financial manager put in place.
So what are people doing now? I mean, I've seen the donations of water bottles. You say some of the pipes are back up, but what is people predominantly doing to drink water?
We're still relying on bottled water to cook, to wash, in some cases.
And I think the really dangerous part of this is, obviously you should drink water every day. It's a vital necessity, but it's getting hot out now. People could get dehydrated easily. So if you're depending on donations where you might need 4 full bottles of water in a day and you don't have it, obviously that's a health risk.
Yeah, I mean, you've got little kids that really can't even play in their pools because even though the EPA is telling us that it's safe to bathe in, there's still people that are getting rashes, that are having hair loss, that are having difficulty breathing after getting out of the shower. And so some people have even resorted to, using some of this precious water being donated to fill up kiddie pools, just so that their children can have a normal childhood. It's heartbreaking. And
Do you have children?
I don't. I have 2 cats, and I have to give them bottled water because if I do give them filtered water, they start to chew their hair out.
In terms of the children that have been developmentally, affected, what's being done for them? I mean, I know medically, most of this is not reversible, but is there therapy that's being paid for? Is there complementary skills that they're learning? I mean, what's being done for the kids that are the symptoms showing up yet? I should ask first. For kids that have pretty much been poisoned.
Well, there's a lot of talk about putting in support services and putting nurses in the schools because when this all started, there wasn't a single nurse in Flint City schools.
And what's the mood there? I mean, is it just at this point hopelessness?
I'd say that there is quite a bit of despair that's set in. There's definitely, the community's traumatized. And there's no going around it. And I mean, at the end of the day, you still can't turn on your tap and brush your teeth with that water. You can't get a glass of that water. All of a sudden I realized that, the reason why I kept having teeth breaking was that my teeth were rotting from the inside out. And it's little things like that. It's like every single day there's a new thing that just, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
And lastly, do you think that obviously families can't be made whole, that children have been poisoned and pretty much their lives destroyed, but do you trust that the government will ever make it half whole, or whatever you want to call it, or do you think you're pretty much just going to have to rely on Good Samaritans for the foreseeable future to send in water, because at the end of the day, the government, it's not a priority. It's still not a priority from what you're telling me.
If there's one thing that I've learned through this, it's that if you want something done, you need to do it yourself. Flint has really been forced to rely on doing the legwork themselves, because the state's not doing enough. The federal government's not doing enough. And I hate to say it, but I want to be optimistic for the future, but they're making it really hard to.